Hello and welcome to News from the Pew, where we take news from around the interwebs and try to make it slightly less frightening. I am your host, Rick Barrett, working on a machine that's 10 years old, which is why my camera system is not working. Hence, you get to look at my beautiful logo for the next hour. You're probably better off.
You got the face for TV right now.
I got a face for video and a voice for silent movies, bud. So either way, you're probably better off looking at my beautiful logo. Anyway. It's Steve and I tonight. We are going to run this. Maybe Jonathan comes in and classes up the program. If maybe when, we don't know. But either way, we got some stories we're going to talk about. Hopefully you can hang out with us, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, share this out on the social medias, and we'll get right to it, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll get the comedic story, I guess, out of the way first. We'll start off with something a little lighter. If Bidenomics weren't enough, if the fact that Joe is shuffling around isn't enough, if the fact that Joe looked at Jimmy Carter during the funeral for Jimmy Carter's wife and was like, oh man, things are only going to get worse, is bad enough. In the most symbolic gesture of the state of this union, looks like something happened to the quote unquote national Christmas tree. And if you haven't seen this, take a look.
The White House Christmas tree's taking a tumble, just like its owner. White House correspondent Peter Doocy has the latest.
Jesse, this president argues climate change is the greatest threat to humanity. Tonight, it was the greatest threat to his Christmas tree. The 40-foot-tall national Christmas tree imported from West Virginia was felled by a gust of wind. The colorful strand of lights wrapped around it remained lit as it laid horizontal in the ellipse between the White House South Lawn and the Washington Monument. This is a headache for a National Park Service hoping to host the president at a tree lighting this Thursday, 2 days from now. But they told us, and this is a quote, the show must go on. A crane hoisted the Norway spruce into a vertical position again. President Biden was aboard Air Force One en route to Colorado as this all went down, literally went down. Many pundits and people polled have been on the record over the last couple months as saying President Biden's biggest problem in the coming election year is going to be Father Time.
Yeah, so it's pretty, first of all, Steve, it's not a national Christmas tree. That's what we have. That's completely wrong right there. And secondly, it's just a perfect encapsulation of where we are right now.
There's so many things, tangents to go off on this one. I mean, let me play the Rockefeller one first. What's happening in Manhattan? Putting up the tree, and there was mostly peaceful protest, I guess.
Yep. Although it is fun watching the left little pet eat its own. And you try to control the monster, and then the monster becomes uncontrollable.
Yeah, no, they're having that stuff everywhere. I saw South Africa. There was a big protest. There was Japan's having something. Japan. I know there was a guy in Japan. He was a black dude saying that the Japanese were racist because they were.
I saw that
move his bike or something like that. And,
there was another video out of this lady out of Italy who's like, all Italy's full of white people and they don't like me. I'm like, yeah, you should have figured that out.
You got Ireland, the guy from Ireland telling everybody need less white people. That we had that last week.
Yeah.
It's as Lou was talking. Not Lou didn't say that. MK Ultra talked about no Christmas trees until Christmas. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm in an area where everybody around me has Christmas lights up. Christmas trees went on sale 2 weeks ago. It's still November.
So where I live, in this small little town I live in, their big thing is the Christmas stroll. They do it the first 2 weekends of the year. Yeah. And it's their way to get themselves into they make enough money on these 2 weekends to get through January, February, stuff like that. But man, it is like it's like a Hallmark Christmas movie in my town right now. There are lights. If there is a place you can hang Christmas lights, they have found it in my town.
I don't remember this, but 5 years ago, much less kids. I remember like the Halloween thing. Everyone's now decorating for Halloween, got lights up everywhere. I don't remember that when I was a kid. And
No.
I don't even remember that 5 years ago. All of a sudden, everyone's got Christmas Halloween lights and Halloween decorations for just, there's nothing even leading up to it. It's not like the Halloween season, October 1st comes around and all of a sudden you got all that. No, it's just one day for that. And now for Christmas, people start here. November 1st was the first Christmas light. And I was at a grocery store and the lady had, this was 2 weeks ago, and had a Christmas sweater on and told me Merry Christmas. And I told my wife, it's like, I almost froze. Like, I don't know what to say. I go, thanks. I mean, it's mid-November. I mean, I did tell a Salvation Army lady that. We were walking out looking at a store, and there she's out there ringing. And she goes, Merry Christmas. I go, well, it's not even December yet. I mean, can we at least get close before?
Sure it is. I mean, okay, fine.
There's so much stuff on the schedule for November. I thought that people forgot what month it was and just start thinking, oh, Christmas is November 25th and not December 25th.
Why wouldn't it be?
Christmas Town, USA, McAdenville, North Carolina. They already got all their lights November 30th. They had their Christmas race, their 5K race, parade. Parade already happened. Santa's there. We went to, my wife loves antique stores. Yep. And the guy, God bless him, I think he was a little slow in the head. He kept saying, Santa's over there. Santa's over there. And we're just, yeah, thanks. Someone said, Advent starts. Forget Advent. People already skipped it. It's just Christmas. And then if you say anything about it, you're a terrible person.
Yeah.
Priest, father made a sermon this last week. You can either be part of the society or live the liturgical year. And I would recommend living the liturgical year. But man, there's some there's trads online, so-called, the trad Inc. people that will get on you for ever saying anything not approved by them. But they're going after people that are upset that people are saying stuff about Christmas trees being up right now. Yeah. Now there's some people that have some ideas like, put the lights up on St. Lucie Day. That's a cool idea. And but how many of these guys are going to keep their lights up till February 2nd? I may do it this year, not do it. We didn't decorate last year, but I keep my brother, and I got a letter from the HOA that we live in this neighborhood. I hate HOAs. Don't want anything to do with them, but we're renting is in it. I'm tied with. I want chickens. I can't have chickens, but we got a letter because we had to take that stuff down after 30 days. They said. So I'm thinking about doing it this year because if I get that letter, I'm going to go berserk to the HOA here, going, wait a minute, Halloween decorations up 45 days. Here's evidence. They were up extra days afterwards. Christmas decorations, 60 days before Christmas started. You're going to get mad at me for having up 35 days afterwards.
I will turn my lights on. I have Christmas lights outside, because I live in a little more of a remote area and I kind of like the extra light. But I'll keep those suckers on from December 2nd all the way through January 30th. Actually, it's not Three Kings. It's it's Christmas Tide, right? The presentation, is that when it officially ends? I'll keep it up to that. I'll keep it up till that. I don't care. So that's what I'll actually do. But
yeah, we did the first year till February 2nd, and it was fun, and it's not nobody asked. I'm hoping people start asking. It's a good evangelization idea. You're the only house on the block with lights up still. And
yep. Someone
asked, why are you doing it? There's a door open, so we're gonna use it like that. So I just gotta. Right when you walk, right when you drive in, we're that one right on the corner. It was an old show house, and you could tell it's just everything put inside is just cheaply done and got it's mold and the kid in the bathroom stuff that we have to fight all the time and things like that. But so everyone can see you know where it does. You can't miss it. So maybe I'll do it this year. But yeah, man, it's comical. You put the tree up, it falls. You got again, it's not the national thing. You stick to your local area, but hey, that's what we're bred and told to do is DC or bust, which is that book I'm reading on the Catholic Confederates.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff in there that literally says, like Memphis newspaper, Raleigh newspapers, a lot of newspapers, they're all saying, they were all then were saying that the attack on the South from the North was an attack against the religion of Catholicism, because most of the Catholics were living in the South at the time, Irish, Germans, things like that. And the Irishmen looked at the Irishmen up north as just guys that they couldn't make it out, that were subjected to fight for the North. But it was the South because they bring up, look at all the anti-Catholic riots in the Union at the time, Philadelphia, New York, the Dagger John Hughes story. And the question was, did you ever hear one in the South? And the historian goes, no, there was never one, because everyone lived the Catholicism was looked at so great in the South, and they were the hypothesis is that the Puritans up north were looking as a way to eradicate the religion from the South. I'm going, where did you else hear that from? And the guy has sources to back it up. It's fascinating to see.
It is fascinating. Also, the whole concept that this whole thing needs to be nationalized really does stomp on the season of Advent, which I see MK Ultra talking about, starts this week. And I was just tooling around this morning, and I came across the sisters, the Carmelite Sisters website, just as Providence is, and I just looked in their book section, and it was $10, Meditations for Advent, and by Jacques Bossut, which I'm probably not saying correctly, but I'm looking forward to getting that, because I'm trying to actually enjoy the Advent season. In fact, it was actually kind of funny because I've told my wife in the past, and I love this is not a dig at my wife. I was like, oh, Advent's kind of like Lent and this, that, and the other thing, as when she sees me do the practices, right? And I'm not eating all the stuff and doing all these other things. I'm doing a lot of fasting. And I'm like, well, that's because, traditionally. And then this weekend she goes, Advent's a pentanal season. I'm like, yes, I do. Which is fine, because now my wife is like, oh yeah, I think we should, try it. Yeah. And now she's involved in it as well. And so that's kind of the way it goes. And so it's just very interesting that from Thanksgiving, from the American national holiday through the 25th. And I told her, I was like, hon, American society, they do it completely opposite. We start celebrating on the 25th and go out. They celebrate up to the 25th, and then it's over. Mm-hmm. So, it's a complete reversal, which is why we really should, embrace the Advent season, because that's really a complete repudiation of Americanism.
Yeah, it's a simple change of your cultures. Instead of doing the parties, do it afterwards. You have and tell people, I'm having a Christmas party in January. They'll look at you crazy. It's, what? And because you're supposed to have it now. You're supposed to party now. And
well, that's all the corporate things. So, all the corporate, they'll all have their Christmas parties. They'll all have their schools will not have Christmas. It'll be holiday events or holiday shows and all these other kinds of things as they wind down the year. And I get it from a secular perspective. Obviously, we're not. But it's the end of the year, and everything's kind of everybody. If you have a corporate job, you're pretty much counting down the days until like the 15th of December, when everybody just checks out. Everybody just leaves, and then they have that kind of 2 weeks off and so forth. So yeah, I get it from a secular perspective why they want to do it, but for us, nah, man, this is all anticipation. We're starting the anticipation. We just did the apocalypse readings this weekend at church, talking about the end of the end times.
Yeah, it's one of those the epitome of act locally, think locally. I mean, you are as local as you can get. So you personally can do a little fast, treat it as a mini boot camp, because Lent comes early this year. Treat it as a mini boot camp. Try to practice discipline your eyes, as don't look at the lights, maybe, because they're pretty. You go outside, they're good to look at, but just glance and turn your head or something, and practice that. Because what if a beautiful lady walks by sometime? I'll give you a little practice so that you won't be tempted to look and keep staring. To build up to lift 315 pounds, you have to start at 45 and 95 and 135 and 225, etc. They build up to it. To think that you can beat a lot of the temptation out there, you got to start small. So that's a good way to probably start small, is that. And So if someone gives you a cookie, maybe donate or just have one. Maybe if you go to a party, I remember a priest saying, just, go in charity, but you don't have to,
Like eat all this stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to get 5 plates. Say St. Bernard talks about that. If you go to if you're fasting, you get invited to a party, then don't make a big scene. Just eat, because your heart, God knows what your heart is, and you're saddened that you can't fast, but have the food so no one has that idea of not letting anybody know what your right hand's doing.
Yeah,
but
that's kind of the Benedictine rule. You never refuse.
Yeah.
If you're invited into somebody's house. Even we had that during the Martyrs Walk, our first in August. It fell on a Friday, and the cafeteria we were working at was doing hamburgers. And one of the martyrs, bravely enough, he didn't want to eat. This was after a morning of hard work. And Jason was like, you have to eat. A, you need your strength. And B, we follow the Benedictine rule. Whatever's offered, we will eat. We understand that Fridays we usually skip, but if all is presented is cheeseburgers, that's what you're going to eat. You don't refuse it. So it's kind of the same thing there, but you don't have to indulge in that whole thing. Despite the fact, folks, like those Christmas tree pastry things are all over the store. That's tough. I'm not gonna lie. That's tough for your boy here. I love them
Christmas
sweet
songs. They're fun, but you don't have to turn them on. Wait till afterwards. What I do is when I use Pandora, and I had when I was doing Uber, I already had the channel situated so that I would just turn on whatever it was and would just play Christmas music through Pandora through the car. And I would just use that now. So afterwards, every breakfast, I'll turn Pandora on and we'll just listen to Christmas carols and throughout the day and things like that. So you keep it away now so that you'll enjoy it later. And I always loved it when a guy in the back seat would say, "Is that Christmas carols?" I said, "Yes, it is." You ever heard of the 12 Days of Christmas? Yeah. And we go into a little apologetics. It starts on Christmas, not 12 days leading up to it. And they would always ask more. So I remember car rides of 30 minutes talking about the season of Christmas, what Christmas actually means. It's kind of like holidays. People got all jazzed up about holidays. It's a contraction of holy days. So you could say, hey, some secular were trying to be like, hey, happy holidays. Don't get mad. It's like, you do know that holidays is a contraction of holy days. What holy day is that you're referring to?
We're not referring to Kwanzaa here, buddy. And Vanny, I had this up for a while. That's right. Your St. Andrew Christmas novena. It starts today. And I'm lucky I have my little chaplet. So I was reminded I could jump right into it. But that's another way to focus during the Advent season.
Yeah, as a female KC writes, putting it up late. We used to go get their tree the 23rd, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and we really just hold out. And the first year we got back here, we still talk about it. It's talking about making memories. It took us 3 hours to find one because we're driving all over the place trying to find anything that wasn't a Charlie Brown looking one, and it was hard. And unless I was talking to a friend of mine that runs the local one of the parishes they sell Christmas trees for fundraisers, and I joke with them and said, yeah, it's great unless you're living liturgical year, but those guys are screwed because you're not going to find a tree. No. So we got a fake one just because it's so tiring now with we have 4 kids and a week and a half to drag kids in and out trying to find something right there. We're like, oh, forget about it. We'll just get a fake one, put it up later, and we'll not worry about it because if we wait till the end, it's hard to find.
Is your fake one pre-lit?
No, we got to put the lights on it. I got it from you'll laugh. I got it like a $50 cheap deal or sale from what was it? It was like a Facebook Marketplace find, and when we pulled up to buy it, it was in this it wasn't an antique, it was like an antique store looking house. It was like a shed. Big shed thing, and I remember my wife, is this the right place? Are we going to get mugged?
Yeah, right.
Wherever we got it, it wasn't like we went to like Home Depot and found something really $300 one. I found the cheapest thing to find.
Yeah, I mean, I have a fake one as well. And it's pre-lit. So as soon as it's up, we're good. So there's not a lot to actually to do that kind of stuff with, and so it's I think especially if you live in the South, you might as well just go with an artificial one, because if you live in the north, you definitely need to get a real one, because they're right there. But if not, then just get the artificial one. Same thing, it still works. But yeah, in regards to the Biden Christmas tree, I guess we should just call it the Biden Holy Day tree, because
It ran
it's
into
not
a wall.
right. It's right. It did. I also I think female Casey Royal fan was talking about a fake Advent wreath. For a while, I actually didn't even have a battery one. I had a cloth one, and it had Velcro, and you would Velcro the candles on. They were like little cloth candles. They weren't real. That was me. Hey man, times were tough. Times were tough. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna apologize for it either.
They make Faraz make a spoof video of hey Alexa, turn on the second Advent light.
Right. Alexa, what day is it? It's the second week. Okay, yeah, act accordingly.
Can you picture Biden singing "Oh Christmas Tree"? Oh, you know the thing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I couldn't picture him doing anything but shuffling at this point, because the man is literally on his last legs.
Hey, he got the most voice ever ever. I mean, come on now, he's gonna.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how many people actually, celebrate his leaving or are sad when he does actually leave, because that's coming, especially with this fake debate that's happening tonight between Ronnie D and the future of the Democratic Party. Because if you're Ronnie D, and if you all don't know, Ronnie D is going to be debating Newsom tonight for whatever reason. And this was the biggest mistake Ronnie D could have made in a campaign filled with mistakes, because he legitimized Newsom. And if he loses, he's going to be even worse off. But the fact of the matter is that this is great for Newsom, because it gives him legitimacy to actually run for office and to actually get the field set. He gets a nice test run without any negatives coming back on him. Because the only reason I'll just finish on this. The only reason that Joe's not gone yet is Jill refuses to let him leave. He will be dead before they leave the White House.
Does anybody know how that even? I know DeSantis was talking about this months ago, and Gruesome Newsom was giving kind of jabs back at him, saying, "Why is a guy wanting to debate a guy that's not even run, that even hasn't even in the nomination?" And that was months ago, and I was like, when did this come into fruition? I mean, I don't remember. I didn't even keep up with it. I mean, I keep up with the news. I watch what's going on from all over the place. I didn't even know this was happening to a friend of mine at the gym. A Canadian told me, "Hey, you watching the debate Thursday?" I go, "What are you talking about, dude?" He's like, "Newsom and DeSantis." It's just like you say. Why? What good does this do? I mean, no one was watching it beforehand. Is this? It goes back to the idea. Is this just TV drama? I mean, the same thing with Trump. Is the TV drama for the arrest, the jail, prisons? I saw a great meme of Trump during the debates, like a ravished wolf going after the deep state. But when in office, he's like kidding. Nothing happened.
He's cuddly.
Yeah, it was just like the lock her up. And then a week later, he's, "Hey, my good friends, Bill and Hillary Clinton over there at the presidential inauguration breakfast. Still on video on YouTube if you want to check that out." It's a whole sham, but these guys are just, I don't know what the deal is with DeSantis on this one, dude. There's no way, unless Trump is literally, I don't know, joins Kissinger. Maybe that's the only thing I can think of. He's win, and he'll probably still win if that's the case.
Right? It's terrible. It just marks the fact that DeSantis should have never gone in, and this is, I guess, some way to salvage. I guess he feels some kind of credibility. It's a losing effort. It's all a losing effort. And that's just poor Ronnie D, because he's supposedly a Catholic. Ronnie D supposedly a Catholic. It would have been nice to have him, represent all these kinds of things, but he just got talked into it the wrong way.
Well, there's plenty of Catholics that are big government wannabes. I mean, there's plenty of Catholics that might be a good Catholic, but get in the government and they're they want to be rulers. They want to be the elected king. I mean, what DeSantis has done in Florida has been fantastic. I mean, yes, the housing industry is going to collapse, but that's everywhere because of things that's been going on for the last.
That's out of his control. The
last
insurance
8,
thing,
6 years.
the insurance thing is a little bit is a bit disturbing, but that's also a natural event that you can't really control either. But in case y'all don't know what
everything
I'm
else
talking
he's
about.
done, everything else, that's what you want in your governor. You want somebody to do what he's been doing. Nothing he's done down there, as good as it is, can he do in DC, and he shouldn't do in DC. But people want that. It's the celebrity thing. We want that from priests that we turn into celebrities for just speaking the regular Catholic faith. If we just prop them up and try to inflate them and try to make them bigger. And what is that South Park episode when they turn a little mom and pop store into like they get mad at Walmart and they try to destroy Walmart. And they go, let's act locally, think. Let's go next to the little mom and pop store, Sam's, whatever store it was. And they went so hard at it that they built it up to another Walmart. And they go, well, we got to burn that one down, start over.
Yeah,
it's our mindset. We just prop them up so much instead of just being, hey, let's look at it as a teaching thing, things like this. No, we turn everything into a fanatical status, and wherever we look at, this guy is it. No, it's just a guy. He's teaching or he's running it this way. Let's not turn a cult of personality. We all do it.
Yeah, we do, and it's because we should, and all that not adulation, but all that affection and all that, for lack of a better term, worshiping is reserved for one entity, and that is our Lord and Savior. And the fact that we put it in other places shows how lost we are. Even some trads and others, and people that you would think have all their stuff together. It's just a lack of really having everything in a row that we are worshiping. Oh, we just need Ron in there, and these are, or we just need these people in there. Who cares, man? The federal government is the least of your concerns in this regard, especially when. No,
remember your boy Church used to say that about that Massachusetts.
Scott Brown. Scott Brown's going to do it.
it.
Yep, Scott Brown's going to do it. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And especially when you have people who are thinking that one of the big news is that Anthony Fauci, Dr. Fauci's back in the news because he's going to Congress and apparently talking about the origins of the jab cough, all this other stuff, and people actually figuring that there's anything that's going to come out of this. He's going to go there. The only one that may do anything is Massey, but outside of that, there's no hope outside of fundraising viral clips.
Here's a Fox clip on that.
The COVID pandemic that's raising new questions about China's role in the global health disaster and what Dr. Fauci knew about it. All this as China struggles with an alarming surge of respiratory illnesses overloading medical centers. So we start with that. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
How you doing?
Great. And you?
That's great.
Better say great.
Morning, partner. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning at home. We're now learning a U.S. health official working for Dr. Fauci raised serious safety concerns 6 years ago in 2017 after taking a tour of the lab in Wuhan, China's first ever level 4 biosafety lab for handling dangerous pathogens.
The U.S. official was shocked and alarmed after learning the lab was considering plans to reverse engineer the
I'm shocked and alarmed.
Deadly Ebola virus. But when she told superiors before writing her report, she was ordered to delete any reference to Ebola.
Well, more on this. Rich Edson follows it up on what they knew and why they might want to hide that critical information. Rich, hello to you. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bill. This U.S. health worker toured the Wuhan Institute of Virology just as it was about to open its most secure lab. And Chinese officials were admitting they needed more expertise to operate it. This is the same facility that some believe U.S. officials started COVID-19 with an accidental lab leak. The U.S. health official touring the lab worked for the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. That's part of the National Institutes of Health, or NIH. In emails obtained by Fox, she wrote to other NIH officials that, during her tour, a technician at the Wuhan lab complained it was illegal to import Ebola to China to study it.
Just like how MK Ultra said it, we talked about this. I talked about this 3 years ago. I mean, there was a study out on muzzles came out saying, well, it's bad for your health.
Oh, really?
screaming
Thanks.
from the rooftops about that 3 years ago. No one, I remember guys from Belmont Abbey I was fighting with about that, and
You
no,
could have
just
got that would have banned you from every social media platform ever saying that. Now it's okay.
And here's one reason why it's coming on. You saw here's the front judge, but if you look up in the upper right left hand corner, they're pumping it out again. You got the mystery wave of child pneumonia hits America, Ohio hotspot, Denmark sees surgeon, white lung syndrome. White lung syndrome. No idea. Expert warns Europe to prepare for worst. I heard that last year. Taiwan urges citizens to avoid travel to China again. The hazmat suits return. Was it Breitbart had the link of the big white coats, whatever they are.
They're staging that again, right?
Yep.
The situation where somebody collapses and there's conveniently 15 guys in suits ready to come and scoop them up like it's a cartoon.
Yeah, we're similarities of how the Rona started. It's literally the same thing. Yeah. But that's one thing that they've been coming out for the last couple of months is they're upset. And this came out last week that the jabs are not no one's taking the jabs. A lot of people, I think the first one had like a 70% compliance rate. The second one was like 40.
They got up to, in the first one, they got up to about 78%.
Yeah.
That was the high mark for it.
And then like half, I think, the next, and then the third and fourth, we're talking teens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're trying to find a way to get those things out there to people. So I mean, that's why you got the was it as Aaron Rodgers called Mr. Pfizer, the Kelsey video when he does 2 in 1. So you can get two jabs in one. And everyone's like, if anybody with 2 working brain cells is going, how good is that for your body to have 2 of these things injected at the same time? Oh, no study for that. There's no control section. There's no nothing. It's just do it. And it's a marketing campaign, but they're going to, we talked about this 4 months ago about they were trying to re-ramp it up, and hoping that they'll last. This will hold. The people over here will hold off for at least a week and a half. So I do not go to prison in the hospital for.
Well, I mean, you also have at the same time, you have the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, suing Pfizer for misrepresenting the cough, jab efficiency, the vaccine efficiency, and conspiring to censor public discourse. So once again, these are one of these examples of why you should definitely get a good Attorney General, good sheriffs. These are your fail safes. If you're going to have any, or, when Ronnie D was the governor of Florida, you have a good governor. That is your backstop against this kind of tyranny. And this is another reason why Ken Paxton's not amazing in every single way. Nobody is, but he does hit the big things. He does get the big things right. And this is one of them, trying to hold Pfizer accountable for all the damage that they caused.
And it's because of guys like DeSantis in Florida, and you got Nahum in South Dakota, and about who stood the ground the first time around, and now you got Arkansas, Huckabee, and was it Ohio came out, and South Carolina came out. They all said we're not closing up shop.
Yeah,
this was a couple months ago. So we'll see how hard they push it now. The downside is with everyone engaged with DC is they'll try to withhold federal money from you, and then they'll blame you for poor people starving in homes because of not getting any federal money. So they'll turn the poor against you because they're all needing to suck at the government teat for government programs, Medicare, Medicaid. People get upset about health insurance, by the way. You can't buy across state lines like you do car insurance. And every health insurance they have is out there, has to follow suit with U.S. Medicare, Medicaid. Medicare for that. Medicaid is the free version. But yeah, you get upset at your insurance company for not doing anything. You could thank the U.S. federal government for handcuffing them, which I never was a fan of health insurance anyways, but that's why they're just as bad, because their paw prints are all over that. But
yep.
Yeah, we're here from the government. We're here to help. So.
Yeah, that's the worst line.
I can't wait to not comply harder this year.
Oh yeah, it'll be an absolute celebration at this point, because this is ridiculous. But
don't fight the propaganda. You'll see the big cities doing that. New York, New York City. You'll see Philadelphia.
Nope. Houston, Austin. They'll all do it.
Yeah, nowhere USA, nowhere, my area in LA, no one's going to do anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the areas where I live, you'll have half compliance because we've been infiltrated by, many Californians. So it'll be split down the middle. It will be interesting, though, when let's just throw this out there. Wasn't planning for it. The church's response, because we know how the church went last time. Will they enforce masks? Will they not? Will the bishops tag along with it? Will they not? So it'll be.
I still to this day have not heard an apology from. Someone tell me if I'm wrong. Has any bishop said we will not do that again? Or we're sorry. I've heard priests say that. I haven't heard a single bishop say we screwed that up. It's not happening again. Maybe was it the Michigan ones? No, that was it something else?
Oh, it was Wisconsin, I believe.
Wisconsin. They at least came out with something, but there's not many out there that said, "Hey, we're sorry we did that," or "We were wrong." You're never going to hear that from anybody. Really. We were wrong. USCCB right now is talking about COP 28, which happens next week, which the Holy Father is not going to now because he's got the sniffles. And but thanks be the guy, he's not going. He'll probably send Turkson. Turkson will probably be there. Turkson's beloved by the WEF, but COP 28 got a little pub by the USCCB going about climate change. Well, you just want to pound your fist in your head when you see that. But hey, at least most of those guys are not spring chickens. So, they'll meet their eternal reward sometime in the not so distant future. So just hang in there. Was it not the Survivor's Prayer? What's the, I'm talking about the famous Serenity Prayer. That's it.
Yeah.
You guys know that God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. So This is one of those things that keep you sane in this crazy world of ours.
Yep. I mean, those guys will all face the 4 final things. So just keep that in the back of your head when you're getting frustrated by that. But it is interesting to speak of. And speaking of the WEF, this is what we call another fantastic transition. One of their arbiters, one of their patriarchs, if you want to call them that, is dead. That's right. Henry Kissinger has died at the age of 100. The guy who went to China before Nixon did, who set up and laid the groundwork for the WEF, is now gone. And take a look.
The only person to be White House National Security Advisor and Secretary of State at the same time has died. Kissinger wielded unparalleled power over U.S. foreign policy throughout the Nixon and Ford administrations.
Here is a man who has the poise, the strength, the character to serve in this great position.
We will strive not just for a pragmatic solution to this or that difficulty, but to recognize that America has never been true to itself unless it meant something beyond itself.
What does that even mean?
And for decades after, he was a consultant and writer who offered opinions that shaped global politics and business.
Donald Trump is a phenomenon that foreign countries haven't seen. And I believe he has the possibility of going down in history as a very considerable president.
As a Jewish immigrant fleeing Nazi Germany, Kissinger spoke little English when he arrived in the United States as a teenager in 1938.
I was kind of a refugee who had to earn a living. The idea of representing the United States as a foreign-born who had to get adjusted to a new country, in fact, it's true, didn't occur to me.
As his political star skyrocketed, he wasn't afraid of publicity, becoming a star of the tabloids, as well as the publications that sought his ideas on geopolitics. He was known to date Hollywood actresses before marrying his second wife, Nancy, a foreign policy researcher, in 1974. Although a recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, he was a controversial figure, in part because of policies in Cambodia, Chile, and South Asia. Critics blamed him for the 1969 secret bombing of neutral Cambodia. and at least indirectly responsible for the CIA-inspired coup that overthrew the legally elected socialist government in Chile in 1973, which Kissinger denied. They accused him of manipulating the 1974 coup that overthrew the government of Cyprus, and of supporting Pakistan's brutal campaign to quash a rebellion in what is now Bangladesh because Pakistan was his secret conduit to the Chinese. Considered one of Kissinger's most successful achievements was the secret diplomacy that led to Richard Nixon's visit to China in February 1972, an event that reshaped the global balance of power.
Kissinger, you are still probably today even one of the most famous men in the world. It's true, recognized everywhere. It wasn't long before you came in the Nixon White House that you were, I hope you're not insulted by this, but kind of like a nerdy professor at Harvard, egghead.
That's true. Power has a certain attraction, apparently.
Is power an aphrodisiac?
Yes, I think it is.
He was in the limelight and got so much publicity, he often upstaged and thereby irked Nixon, especially when Time magazine made the president's assistant co-man of the year. When Kissinger heard of the decision, he says he was horrified and called the editor 5 times.
And begged him, which I'm sure had never happened in the history of time,
to
take me off the cover and make Nixon sole man of the year.
Kissinger is generally regarded as a brilliant strategist who had the idea that he could
strategy?
shuffle the
Bomb 'em.
cards to the advantage of the United States. But his critics say he was too secretive, and that while he understood the use of power, his approach to diplomacy gave short shrift to human rights and democratic ideals.
You know, your son told us that your approach to diplomacy, your emphasis on balance of power, came from your experiences in Nazi Germany.
My son wasn't alive then.
Yeah, but he knows you pretty well, and this is his analysis.
I'm going to ground him.
No, you're not going to ground him.
I don't think it's as simple as that I saw disintegration of order, then I go around the world, and all I want is order, never mind what it does to human beings, which is the way some of my critics put the case.
David, Henry Kissinger, and I think he first was noticed by the Rockefeller family after he wrote a very erudite work on nuclear weapons and nuclear war back in the late 1950s.
Nuclear weapons and foreign policy.
Right.
Yes.
It was then published, and from that time on, he became pretty close to the Rockefeller family.
Well, he did. Actually, I guess I was the first one who got to know him because he was a member of an organization called the Council on Foreign Relations in New York. And there was a study group at that time that he, as then a young instructor at Harvard, presided at. I was so impressed by him that I introduced him to my brother Nelson, who was then governor in New York and was then considering seeking the presidency of the United States. They became great friends, and actually Henry became Nelson's foreign policy advisor as long as he was in public life, and I think is one of the remarkable international statesmen in the world today. Even 30 years after he was Secretary of State, he is still asked by heads of state when he travels the world for his advice.
Let me go back to the time you said when you came here.
There he is.
It transformed your life. Was there a course, a professor who really made that difference for you?
Yes, there was one course, one seminar of Henry Kissinger, which really opened my eyes. I wasn't accepted to the seminar, but I sat in. I think he let me in because I was German. And it was relatively shortly after the war. There were not too many Germans here. And this created a friendship which has endured until today. And you know, Henry has been several times in Davos. And I think it was mainly participating in his seminars that I developed my interest for geopolitical affairs.
Yeah. Folks, all comes back around, doesn't it? It all comes back around. That's why we call Kim. Much like Steve is the godfather of YouTube, you could call Kissinger the godfather of the NWO, and the groundwork that he laid. Even though, I don't know, Steve, people were saying that towards the end of his life, and he was making statements like, "Oh, we shouldn't have done it so far," this, that, and the other thing. I don't really think that's the case. I think this guy was fine with what he was doing until the end.
I don't know. Maybe he looked at it towards the end going, they're going too far. I don't know. Found some articles on it. The man who thinks he's God. This is back in 2011. Now there's a meme going around with the same photo with the same text, different author, saying that he didn't believe in God. So I don't know. I don't know if that actually was a quote of his. Here's a political magazine, Good or Evil. 10 historians assess the controversial statement's legacy. Henry Kissinger is one of the worst people to ever be a force for good.
Yeah, that doesn't work that way.
Let's see. He was not particularly original or bold. Let's see. What was another one? Morally flawed, but also dangerous as Cold War strategist. Maybe the most overrated public figure of our times. Surely mixed. His sense of grand strategy was crabbed and narrow. Hero or villain, he remains a larger in life figure in part because he mattered. That's true, but doesn't really tell us anything else.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders told America, "I am proud to say that Henry Kissinger is not my friend." He was in his debate with Hill Dog back in 2016. "I will not take advice from Henry Kissinger," because he claims not to be a war guy, but that whole Bernie doesn't take billions, so that guy took billions. Henry is if it were not for the accident of my birth, I would be an anti-Semitic. But for my English-speaking people, anti-Semitic. Here's the one famous quote by Anthony Bourdain. I think when did he die last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago, a couple years ago.
Once you've been to Cambodia, you'll never want to stop. You'll never stop wanting to beat Henry Kissinger to death with your bare hands. Killed 150,000 people. Here's a little baseball card stat for you. Cambodia bombing, 500,000 killed. East Timor invasion support, 200,000 deaths. Chile government overthrow, U.S. backed the dictatorship. Bangladesh killings, 3 million deaths. Argentina's dirty war, 30,000 killed, 30,000 disappeared. Laos, 200,000 deaths. Vietnam War told 2.5 to 3 million deaths. And counting if you want to count the Agent Orange.
You can assign those to him because if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't be there. So yeah. You can tack those on.
I thought Caitlin had a great write-up on this. So the funny thing about Kissinger living to 100 is he lived long enough to become one of the least crazy warmongers in the D.C. swamp. Not because he got saner, but because the U.S. empire has gotten so much crazier. Almost everyone running the U.S. government today is a worse warmonger than Kissinger at the end of his life. You can see that with Rick's favorite lady, Nikki Haley.
Oh yeah, hey man, she's gonna be the next. She's gonna be the vice president. So
oh yeah, her, Graham, a bunch of those guys make Kissinger look out almost to be the Nobel Peace Prize. Which to win the Nobel Peace Prize, you must at least kill 100,000 people. I think it is
minimum. There's a minimum, right? You gotta make sure you do that
twice. Gets you unanimous votes. I think.
That's right. Yeah, if you hit certain numbers.
I think Obama was literally drone bombing people when he was getting the award presented to him.
He drone struck and then he got the award. It was a great one too. And for Nikki Haley, she will not be happy until she nukes the moon, and then they'll give her the actual Nobel Peace Prize to get that done in that regard. But it is very interesting to see how the seeds were planted with a guy like Kissinger in both Republican and Democratic circles, and how that has spread out, which is why you can't trust either party or rely on either party. Kind of going back to the whole DeSantis thing that we were talking about earlier in the year, episode. We could have said year too, but the fact of the matter is this is this thing, everybody feels like it has just sprung up, but the seeds were planted a long time ago, which is why people think, oh, we just have to do this, that, and the other thing, and we can take it back. Folks, it's going to take a while, and it's going to take a concentrated effort if you ever want to turn the actual ship. And that's why a lot of us don't think that it can actually be changed.
Yeah, I think it was a snowball chance in July or hell to be able to pull that off. And July in the northern hemisphere, there's no way that people are reining this thing in. It's going to be an epic collapse. You're going to see the TV guys saying, you got to do this, you got to do that. Ain't no, unless the entire continent converts to the church in the next few years, you got no chance. This is going to get uglier and worse as the years go by. Nope. Yeah, the most important election of your lives, which you hear every 2 years. Yeah, the one that's coming up, and everyone's saying, "Oh, look, they're rolling the road out again for it's for the elections." I literally saw that the other day.
Yeah,
what did they go? What? It's again, that's November 2023. So yeah, they're really getting it ready for 2024. But what do you think Trump's going to do? It's one of those. What do you really think? Please pass the hookah pipe because I need a hit of whatever you guys are smoking for that. You really think that Trump's going to just like what did he do the first go around? Nothing. The swamp grew. Yeah. He kept the land closed. What do you think he's going to do next one? What do you want him to do? Answer that question, and it probably violates the U.S. Constitution. So you can already go ahead and say you are a problem in the political sphere because you might want him to do X, Y, Z, and by law, he can't do what you want him to do. We want a dictator to come through on one side or the other, doesn't matter who, R or D, and basically just come in and thrash down and it's gonna be okay when we do it type deal. Hey, Trump's gonna go after those guys. It's illegal, but it's okay if we do it. If the other guys were doing it, you'd be bashing your hands, calling in your talk radio guy, you're yelling about I can't believe these commies are doing it. But just because it's a different name, different color behind him, yay, mega.
Well, I mean, Trump, like MK Ultra says, he was the first one to actually pass gun control. So, and we're starting to see court cases actually go up, the Cargill case, to try and push back on that. But yeah, the government grew, the debt grew, the lockdowns happened. I mean, he is somebody on a podcast recently I was watching called him the most conservative, most recognizable conservative in history. And I was like, the dude's not conservative. He's never was. He was a Republican, but now you're conflating the two, and they are not supposed to be one and the same. A conservative is not a Republican in any way, shape, or form. But that's how he's being packaged.
And no one knows what the word conservatism even means. I think it's because you got you're on the red team or whatever. Right. Yeah. What are you trying to conserve? There's no little government. It's, hey, what did Trump? It goes back. Just the love of what happened. Everyone's watching DC again. What's Trump going to do? What's your governor? Oh, who's your mayor? Oh, this is Trump nation. You see those flags. No, it's not. He don't live here. He lives in Florida or wherever. He has a place in New York. This isn't Trump nation again, but it goes back to us wanting this. We conservatives want to eliminate the states. We want DC to run it. We want Supreme Court to spew out whatever, and that's what we're going to live by. It goes back to the abortion things. Ohio getting killed, Kansas losing bad. All these ones, Nebraska on target now. We're still looking at DC to. We need a national law to stop. Yeah, good luck. That's going to work. And tell me when any of that stuff that'll work. But that's what we want to do. We want the easy, lazy boy solution. Because if the alternative is right, then we have to actually do something about it and work at it, or get off our butts and go run for a local election, a local office, and change from within. And again, go back to all the Catholics throughout the land, even in different areas, Italy, whatever, where they do votes. You tell me we don't have enough of us to run for those local and city and state areas to maybe force a change that way? I think we could if we wanted to. And it goes back to, do we want to? Just like the guys always say, I want to make the starting lineup. All right, show me your work ethic. If you bust your tail, you still might not get it. But those guys that bust their tail usually got a chance at it. But the guys that talk a good game, and then when push comes to shove, they're like, yeah, not really. Where you at now? We're not. We'll just put a video together and talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those clicks and retweets are so much sweeter than actually, facing possible rejection that will come when you put yourself out there. And a lot of people just don't have the stomach for it. They just don't have the stomach for it because they don't want it. And that's going to be a problem going forward. It's going to be a huge problem going forward because people don't want to actually put any skin in the game. It's easier now because social media has, as you pointed out throughout the episode and throughout our time here, has made it so much easier for you to pretend like you're putting skin in the game by tweeting things or putting out videos. But when a push comes to shove, you're really not doing anything. You're not converting people. You're not bringing people back to the church. And when that's really for this show and what, Steve and I do in our own little apostolates here and there, it is trying to convert. It is trying to bring people back to the church because that is the only salvation, right? Whatever happens here is whatever happens in this life happens in this life. It's when you face the 4 final things that you really got to pay attention to that stuff.
Here's one more of that book I was telling you about. I don't know if I shared this to you. I took a screenshot of it. The historian goes, the greatest time of Catholic evangelization was in the South during the Civil War. Can you think of that? He was talking about how many sisters, priests, the people living by example, and the haters that were there at the time because of the anti-Catholic stuff, but that they said the nuns in those times were the greatest evangelists in American, quote unquote, USA history. There were converts left and right because of the love they were showing each other, the love they were showing the soldiers, the love they were showing the people, and just being able to answer the questions. One guy, there's a story about this. A story about a soldier talking to a nun just started because she was helping him out, and he apparently the priest told him beforehand the same thing. He goes, "I don't believe any of that. I hear what you're saying, but I don't believe that. I'll believe it. Let me ask her. I'm going to believe what what she says." And she basically repeated what he just said. He goes, "I'm in that church. Whatever church she's in, I'm in that church. That's the true church."
So if you actually go to the Basilica for St. Elizabeth Ann Seton in Maryland, you'll see the Civil War exhibit they have there for the Sisters of Charity and how they were huge in that area during the Civil War. That's what they write about, yeah. Yeah. I've been there, and it's absolutely breathtaking to see all of the stuff and the way they put themselves out there. They didn't care. They didn't care if you were Northerner or Southerner. It was your soul that they cared about. And that's what they went in, and they were caring for the wounded, and they were helping them out. And that's what Steve's talking about. It's
amazing. There was one guy that said, "I don't know what religion she is. I'm going to follow her." And then she told him that she's Catholic, and that she was Catholic. And he goes, "I had no clue. I hate Catholics because of what I was told." Yeah. But there's no way what they told me is what you believe.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a really cool chapter.
Yeah. And it just shows the power of the faith when it's applied correctly.
And they were giving away miraculous medals.
Yeah. That's when Steve was completely locked in as soon as he read that, because that's the old.
I sent it to a friend of mine in Texas, and he's former military, and he goes, I'm going to show that when people start busting my chops about giving away. I know there's one guy out there that got mad at me for saying, said I was giving swine to the pigs. Oh yeah, those ladies, they're everywhere, and there's all kinds of priests. One priest goes to Williamsburg, and says that it was the first time that the true faith entered the city of Williamsburg was when he stepped there.
Yep.
And these guys were definitely not how would you say, you're okay wherever you are. They were telling Protestants, why? Because there's a lady in Williamsburg that walked to him, and she started saying, "Yeah, I believe in the communion of saints. I believe in this." And he goes, "Well, I hope you convert and stop this nonsense that you're living in now."
That's awesome. That is fantastic to hear that kind of stuff. And that's when faith is presented in times of struggle, it flourishes, and it always will, because that's what it's designed to.
Well, you like that. They talk about the best soldiers were the Catholics that lived the faith.
Yep.
And one priest said the worst ones was the lukewarm ones.
Yeah. Because when the order is correct, you can do anything, right? When you have your priorities correct. And a lot of us are still having that problem even today. Especially today with the way our priorities.
MK, I'm doing a show with him next week. So is it next week? Yeah, next week. So I'm almost done with the book, but I hope McClanahan gets a copy of it. I think it's cool. It's been out for 3 years and just found out about it a couple of weeks ago, and it does not disappoint.
It's catching fire now, which is most important. And so that's good to hear. I think we have one more story. Do we have one more video to cover? I forgot because
There's a couple left. I got Beck talking about the
more clear.
Let's cover the Beck one.
Under President Trump's border and immigration policies, there was less than 500,000 encounters. 3 years later, under new leadership and policy, there are nearly 2.5 million. And with that much of a numerical difference, it's a crisis. Now, talk about gaslighting, shall we? If you even mention a concern, you're immediately labeled a bigot, a white supremacist, a Nazi. Oh, look, over there, it's Hitler. Forget for a second that the economic concerns of the border, the crisis that it is creating, forget about that. Let's just make this about safety and security. You remember when Trump got destroyed for saying rapists and criminals were crossing the border? How dare you say that? Well, we're now getting arrest numbers from ICE. It isn't good. Last year, ICE arrested over 46,000 illegals that had criminal histories in their native country. Here's why they picked them up. The charges and convictions include 21,531 assaults, 8,164 sex and sexual assault offenses, 5,554 weapons charges, 1,501 homicide offenses, and 1,114 kidnapping offenses. None of those had to happen. None. Now, keep these numbers in mind as you consider this context. In 2023, this year, the Border Patrol released over 900,000 illegals into the United States. While you're thinking about that, check this out. Trump's entire presidency for 4 years, there were only 11 terrorist encounters at the southern border. Let's compare that, shall we, under Biden? In 2021, 15. That 1 year, the first year past 4 years under Trump. In 2022, it was 98. 2023, 169. In fiscal 2024, which just started, it's already 12. We're not even 2 months into this, and there have been more terrorist encounters on the border than the 4 years under Trump. Keep those stats in your pocket. You know, the next time somebody calls you a Nazi or white supremacist for being concerned about the border, with what's happening in the Middle East, we are going to pay a very high price for this insanity that every damn one of us, I don't care who you voted for, every damn one of us, if you look at it, you know this is wrong. You know, when we were talking about terror, 2001, everyone's like, we got to know who's here. What do you mean they've overstayed their visas? There are no visas. There are no visas. Okay, we're doing less.
Please buy my books.
Yeah, things are getting desperate over here. The Blaze needs you.
If you buy my book, it will change the world.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. We all know the southern border is a mess. We all know that Greg Abbott is doing the dumbest thing possible. I mean, people are like, oh, they're busting them into the cities. It's so great, blah, blah, blah. No, it's terrible, actually, because nobody's going to get rid of them. Trump's not going to get rid of them. So they're here. They're here forever. So, and all that stuff you're seeing in Ireland and all these other places, it's going to get bad in the cities. Already is. Folks, it's going to spill out. I hope you're ready. And then we got one more video left, I guess. Or is that?
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Kentucky for 5 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Troy, you stated in your opening statement that this committee was indulging in fantasy detached from reality. that members of this committee and their witnesses make grand and vague accusations about government censorship, and that we are spreading conspiracy theories about government censorship. Would one of those conspiracy theories be that government-funded agencies were flagging and trying to censor official congressional accounts on social media? Are you denying that that occurred?
I would have no knowledge of that. I'm not aware of that happening.
Well, we're going to make you aware of that right now. Mr. Schellenberger, can you speak to this tweet? I saw that you flagged this in one of your recent articles on Substack. Can you tell us why this tweet brought attention in your article?
Yeah, because that was one of the tweets that that the Virality Project at Stanford Institute Internet Observatory had flagged to Twitter as misinformation, and that I believe it was labeled or censored in some other way.
So it was the Stanford Virality Project, that is funded by the government, is it not?
Yes, it is.
And so their purpose, ostensibly, is to stop misinformation, malinformation, and to flag things they say that might be against the terms of service of the social media companies. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Ms. Troy, is there any reason you think that this should have been flagged?
Depends on whether you're spreading inaccurate information.
Well, it references a study
Seem to
from
do that
Israel, a
often.
published study from Israel, and the tweet just restates the title of the study. Does it
Up to the
trouble
social
you
media
that?
companies to review their policies? It's an internal choice.
Yeah, are you going to sit here and maintain that it's a conspiracy theory that this occurred? We have the documents. Mr. Schellenberger has the documents that showed that this occurred.
Well, then it was flagged for a reason.
What's the reason?
I don't
Is there ever
know.
a good reason to censor a member of Congress? This is my
No.
official account. This is not a personal account. This is not a campaign account. This is my communication with my constituents. By the way, I bring this up not to claim that members of Congress have more right to free speech than the general public. In fact, I don't even think the press or the media has more rights to the First Amendment than the general public. The general public has the same rights that we have. And I bring this up to show, number one, that your testimony is false. But number two, if they can do this to a member of Congress's official account, they can do it to anybody. Now I want to move on to the origins of these programs. Mr. Schellenberger, can you tell us about the Cyber Threat Intelligence League? Was this just a group of vigilantes, concerned citizens, or was it in any way connected to the government? And what did they endeavor to do?
Yeah, this was so. First of all, it's a pretty ludicrous founding, which was that this is a group of Israeli, so-called former Israeli intelligence, former British intelligence, also working at Microsoft, and others who basically said, we're going to volunteer our services. These are some of the world's greatest so-called cybersecurity professionals, volunteering their services to multi-billion-dollar hospital and healthcare organizations whose own IT organizations spend millions of dollars a year on cybersecurity, supposedly volunteering this. This was the premise of the whole thing. It then created this third part that I mentioned. They had physical security, cybersecurity, they added cognitive security, and the people that did that were 2 UK and US military contractors. This was one of the most sophisticated disinformation operations that I've ever seen. I've been involved in progressive causes for over 30 years. I've never seen anything so organized, anything that was so focused on a particular goal and that had so many people that came from military and intelligence organizations. It gave me the creeps just reading about it.
And in the documents, is it true that they used their agency SEALs, FBI, CISA, when they were communicating with each other?
That's right, and the whistleblower provided screenshots of Slack conversations that included officials from DHS, Facebook, and the CTIL League.
So it would be hard for somebody to claim that these folks weren't agents of the government or acting in coordination with the government or using things that they learned in their government. Were some of them still employed by the U.S. government when they were undertaking this?
Yes, Pablo Brewer was working for the U.S. Navy at the time, and
In the Navy.
many of the others were claiming to be volunteering their time even while working their.
I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. Well, then now you have your Massey men of Massey pushing back on.
Should make an intro video. Now your moment of Massey.
Right, that's pretty much your Massey minute at this point. But yeah, there you go in that regard. So that catches you up pretty much on everything we have, folks. So it is time for our Saint of the Week and our Cry Room. So do you have anybody up first, Steve?
I'll throw that one. I don't know if you've seen this.
Yep. He's Saint or Cry Room.
Yeah, the Cry Room. Shannon, was it Armenta? He works for Deadspin.
Yeah,
goes after this kid for wearing blackface, as he said. And here's what the kid looked like. He actually had the colors of the team on him, and the players are seeing him, and he's doing the chop with him. And
yep.
Yeah, they had the grown man had to go out and call this 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid a racist.
He is Native American too.
Yeah, he goes after him for
what he's Native American,
offending two groups. But there was another. Was that the former ESPN lady, Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia? No, it was in Chicago, and the kid dressed up, had the dreads just like his favorite quarterback did.
Oh, yep, I remember that. Yeah,
and she called that little boy a racist too. And it's just amazing.
Quarterback had no problem. The quarterback thought it was funny as heck.
They thought it was great. I would. I mean, who think? Oh, it's a racist because he put dreads on. Because he wanted to be just like his hero.
Right. And so that's just, of course, people who are not athletes commenting on the things of athletes. So
my Saints of Week, I guess I'll go with Yippee. You ever heard of Yippee?
No.
Yippee is a kind of like a channel on your TV that you can have a Spectrum app and things like that. It's an app for your TV. Anyway, it's Christian based. So yes, Protestants do it because Catholics don't do anything besides yell at each other. So it's a Protestant based one, and we ended up getting the subscription for it because it has all the VeggieTales on there.
Oh, nice.
And I'm hooked on VeggieTales. The kids sing it all the time. We played it, play it a lot for them. There's some good stories on there. And, I would rather watch VeggieTales than most 99% of Catholic media.
Yep, I agree. I mean, at least VeggieTales has a point. So you have that. So I'm gonna put Ronnie D in the Cry Room for being dumb. It's terrible. I could give them. I'll split it. I'll put Ronnie D in one, and the people behind the Hollowed app in the other for getting Liam Neeson to do an Advent abort Liam Neeson to do the readings of C.S. Lewis just because he played Aslan in the Narnia movie. That's not a great idea behind that one.
They reached out to me before they started to see if we wanted to collaborate, and I never heard back from them.
Yeah, see, that's where they went wrong. They turned their back on the Godfather and see what happens. That's you never turn your back on the family. And so my Saint of the Week, I'm going Fawaz. He posted some stuff about how many people have been streaming his albums this year, and heck of a lot. It's a heck of an accomplishment considering he's got no official backing, he's got no marketing, he's just got idiots like me to promote him and tell you to listen to his stuff. And he's really doing a heck of a job in that space representing Catholicism. So good for you, Fawaz, and couldn't happen to a better guy, and hopefully much more success for you and everybody who you collaborate with.
Well, speaking of self-promotion, let me go ahead and throw this out because I haven't
started. No, mute.
The Advent book, the Saint Maker series. I have the Christmas one up in did you mute me?
Only for a second. I didn't know you had one. I would have bought yours, man. I didn't know you had. I'm sorry. Don't buy the book I bought. Buy the one from Steve.
I can't believe you. You didn't know. How'd you not know?
Because I'm a dummy. What do you want?
Anyway, so I have this up. There's about 4 other old ones that I'll have up pretty soon too. That goes like this. But I'll have the whole series up for Alphonsus probably by June. But Christmas, I already have Christmas edited. And if you know any Spanish-speaking people that can only read Spanish, I have this available in Spanish as well. So,
see.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that's it for this
Si
episode.
se puede.
Bueno. That's it for this episode of News from the Pew. Please like, subscribe, and share the News from the Pew. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, ladies and gentlemen. It's been fun. We'll see you all next week. God bless and Viva Cristo Rey.
Will they see you next week?
If I get the computer in on time, who knows?